The text came while I was standing in line for coffee. Hope you're not coming Saturday. It was from my mom. 4 words that didn't even sound like her, cold, rehearsed, distant. Saturday was their 30-year anniversary party, the one I'd helped plan for months. I'd booked the florist, paid the deposit on the venue, and designed the invitations. Now suddenly I was banned? No argument. No warning. Just that message. At first, I told myself it had to be a mistake. But when I opened Instagram that night, any hope I had shattered with one photo. My parents have always had favorites. My sister Lena arrived 2 years after me and somehow inherited the golden child gene before she could walk. If I got an A, it was expected. If she got a B-, the fridge turned into her personal trophy wall. Growing up, I learned to earn affection through usefulness. I organized, solved, managed. Lena just had to exist. And my parents treated her like a fragile glass ornament, too precious to be held accountable for anything. Dad always said, Ava can handle herself. It sounded like praise until I realized it was an excuse for neglect. When I left for college, I worked double shifts to cover rent because my parents said they couldn't afford to help 2 daughters. Then, a year later, Lena enrolled at a private art institute, and suddenly they found the money, full tuition, new laptop, rent allowance. Still, I didn't complain. I built a career in event management, the kind of work where you anticipate problems before anyone notices. Maybe that's why Mom asked me to plan their anniversary party. At first, I was flattered. 30 years together, it sounded like a celebration of stability, of the family I'd always tried to hold together. I threw myself into it. I designed the invitations, picked a venue by the lake, even arranged a slideshow of their old photos. Lena offered to help, which meant showing up late to tastings and taking selfies with the samples. Every suggestion I made went through her for validation. Mom says pastel roses are outdated, she'd tell me. Or, Dad thinks your playlist is too sad. But the biggest sting came when I noticed the guest list. All of Mom's side, all of Dad's colleagues, Lena's college friends, and my name was missing. I laughed it off, thinking it was an oversight. Probably because I'm already planning it, I told myself. The weeks leading up to the party felt tense. Mom stopped returning my calls quickly, Dad became busy. Lena posted hints on Instagram about the event of the year. 2 nights before the party, I texted Mom to confirm the final payment for the caterer. She replied, "Don't worry about it, sweetie. We've got it handled." That's when my stomach twisted. Handled was mom speak for we made decisions without you. I asked, "Do you still want me to come early for setup?" She left me on read. Then came the next morning, the message. Hope you're not coming Saturday. No context, no call, nothing. I reread it until the words blurred. I typed back, why wouldn't I, but she never answered. For the rest of the day, I felt like a ghost orbiting a life I used to belong to. At work, my assistant noticed I was distracted. Big weekend plans, she asked. I almost laughed. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine and scrolled through old texts from Mom, trying to understand what I'd done wrong. The last one before the ban was her thanking me for confirming the photographer. Somewhere between those messages, something shifted, and I was the only one left in the dark. When I called Dad, he didn't pick up. When I tried Lena, she sent a voice note saying, "It's just complicated, Ava. Maybe it's better if you skip this one." Skip this one? As if I'd missed a few birthdays and they were protecting me from boredom. I wanted to scream. But instead, I stared at my reflection and told myself I was overreacting. Maybe there was some misunderstanding. Maybe they had a surprise planned. Families do stupid things sometimes. Then I remembered the deposit receipts in my email, the ones under my name. If I was banned, why hadn't they reimbursed me? The rational part of me whispered to walk away, but another part needed closure. So that evening, I checked Lena's Instagram. The first image hit like a punch. There they were, Mom in her silver gown, Dad in his navy suit, both beaming under fairy lights I'd chosen. Behind them, the lake shimmered exactly as I'd imagined for the slideshow backdrop I'd planned. And Lena stood beside them, holding a champagne glass, captioned. Couldn't have imagined a more perfect night for our amazing parents, 2 hearts so blessed. I zoomed in. My own calligraphy was on the banner. My table settings. My centerpieces. Even the playlist, I could see the DJ setup with the flash drive I'd given him labeled Ava's Mix. Every detail screamed my involvement, yet there I was, completely erased. The comments poured in. Beautiful family. Where's your sister, Lena? Lena replied, she couldn't make it, pensive face. I read it 5 times. She couldn't make it. My vision blurred. The phone trembled in my hands. They didn't just ban me, they rewrote the story so I looked indifferent. I scrolled through her stories. One clip showed Mom giving a toast. We're so grateful for everyone who helped make tonight possible, especially Lena, who worked so hard planning every detail. Laughter, applause, clinking glasses. That was the moment something inside me cracked. All the years I'd swallowed their favoritism, all the times I'd told myself at least they love me differently, gone. I felt humiliated, but underneath the humiliation was fury, clean, controlled, and absolute. I took screenshots of everything, the post, the comments, the toast. Then I drafted an email to the venue manager, politely asking for a copy of the final invoice and photo rights. He responded within minutes, of course, Ava. Everything looked great tonight. Thanks again for your professional coordination. That one line gave me the leverage I didn't know I needed. The next morning, I requested the photographer's gallery too. He sent over 300 high-resolution shots, proof of every lie. In one picture, Mom hugged Lena while pointing toward the floral arch I'd designed. In another, Dad was cutting the cake I'd ordered from my friend's bakery. There were no empty chairs, no missing guests. Just my absence, perfectly staged like a secret. I spent the rest of the day oscillating between tears and meticulous planning. Revenge, I realized, wasn't about screaming, it was about truth. I started by replying to Lena's post, not publicly, but through a private message. Funny how I couldn't make it to the party I paid for. She saw it but didn't reply. Instead, she removed me from her followers within minutes. Classic Lena, avoid, delete, deny. I decided not to confront her yet. Not until I had something undeniable. So, I called my contact at the local lifestyle magazine, the same one that occasionally featured charity events. I told her I wanted to submit a portfolio piece highlighting small business collaborations for family gatherings. She loved the idea. Using the photographer's pictures, I drafted a short article crediting every vendor, the florist, caterer, DJ, and myself as event coordinator. I sent it to the magazine under my professional email. 2 days later, it was live online. A Silver Lake celebration, elegant anniversary styled by Ava Collins Events. The photos spoke for themselves, Mom and Dad under my floral arch, Lena's reflection caught mid-toast, the decor unmistakably mine. By afternoon, the link started circulating locally. My phone buzzed non-stop with congratulations from colleagues. But what thrilled me most was seeing Lena's update vanish from Instagram. Then came the text from Dad. Ava, what is this article? Call us immediately. I waited 2 hours before replying. Oh, just showcasing my work. Hope the event turned out as planned. He called 5 times. I let it ring. When he finally switched to voicemail, his tone was controlled but furious. You've embarrassed your mother. We didn't give permission for those photos. I saved the message. Then Mom texted. This is petty, Ava. We only wanted to keep things simple. You made everything about yourself. I stared at her words, each one a testament to how little they understood. They erased me publicly, and now my acknowledgement of reality was petty. That night, I uploaded my own post, nothing vindictive, just facts. Honored to design this special anniversary event for my parents. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend due to unforeseen family decisions, but grateful the night looked beautiful. Within an hour, mutual relatives started commenting privately. Wait, you weren't invited? I thought you were in charge of the whole thing. The whispers had begun. By midnight, Mom deleted her Facebook album. Dad set his profile to private. Lena blocked me completely. I should have felt guilty, but instead I felt equilibrium, like years of imbalance had finally leveled. Still, revenge rarely ends neatly. I knew this was just the opening move. The next morning, my phone buzzed again, this time from an unexpected number, Uncle Ray, Dad's older brother. "Your mom's in shock," he said. "Everyone's asking why you weren't there." "What happened?" I simply answered, "You should ask her." For the first time in my life, I didn't chase their approval. And somewhere deep down, I knew the story wasn't over yet. The next few days were quiet, too quiet. That eerie silence that comes right before a storm. By Wednesday, word had traveled through our entire extended family. My aunt called first, then cousins I hadn't spoken to in months. Each conversation started the same, cautious curiosity masked as concern. "So, Ava, did your parents really not invite you?" I didn't embellish. I just said, they decided Lena should handle the guest list. That one sentence carried enough implication to ignite speculation. Meanwhile, I focused on what I do best, presentation. If they wanted to control perception, I'd simply outperform them. I started building a behind-the-scenes reel for my event page, showing clips from planning sessions, design boards, sample layouts, proof that I'd orchestrated everything. I wasn't trying to humiliate them, but I also wasn't letting their revisionist history stand. Within a week, the reel gained traction. Vendors tagged me. The florist reposted it with the caption, "Ava's creative direction brought this vision to life." Then, a local bridal blog shared it too. Suddenly, my inbox flooded with inquiries. The very event that was meant to erase me had become my biggest marketing success. But the more public recognition I received, the more desperate my parents became to reclaim control. Mom called again, her tone switching from scolding to pleading. "Ava, people are misunderstanding things. We never meant to exclude you, it was just complicated." "Complicated how?" I asked. Silence. Then a sigh. "Lena felt you'd make the night about your business. We didn't want conflict." There it was. The translation, we didn't want you to outshine her. I felt my pulse steady. "So instead, you let her take credit for my work?" "Ava, you're being dramatic." I almost laughed. "You're right. Designing, funding, and being erased from your own parents' anniversary is totally casual." She hung up. That evening, Lena sent a message from an unknown account. "You got what you wanted, okay? Everyone's talking about you. Happy now?" For once, I didn't reply. Silence was louder. But I wasn't finished yet. There was one final layer to expose, not out of malice, but for closure. I gathered all my documentation, receipts, emails, design drafts, and prepared a professional case study for an upcoming event planning seminar I'd been invited to guest speak at. The theme, owning your work when family doesn't respect boundaries. I used the anniversary as a fictionalized example, changing names but keeping the structure. When I presented, the audience gasped at the audacity of the client family. I didn't have to name them, the catharsis came from recognition. Afterward, several attendees came up to thank me. One woman said quietly, "That sounded like my parents." That's when I realized, this wasn't just revenge. It was resonance. By turning my pain into purpose, I'd stripped the situation of its power over me. But fate wasn't done adding drama. 3 weeks later, my parents showed up unannounced at my apartment. It was a Sunday morning. I was still in pajamas when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Mom clutching a manila envelope and Dad standing behind her, jaw tight. I opened the door, cautious. "Morning." Didn't realize we had plans. Dad stepped forward. "We need to talk." I gestured to the couch. "Go ahead." Mom sat, avoiding my eyes. "Ava, this has gone too far. You've humiliated the family." I folded my arms. "By telling the truth? You posted private pictures. They were in a public venue. You approved those photos for marketing use when you signed the release form," I said evenly. She blinked, realizing I'd outmaneuvered her again. Dad exhaled. "Look, maybe we handled things poorly. But you blindsided us." I felt something loosen inside me, not forgiveness yet, but clarity. "You banned me, lied to everyone, and took credit for my work. What exactly did I blindside you with, the reality you tried to hide?" Mom's eyes filled. "We thought if we made it simple, there'd be less tension between you and Lena." You two always compete. I shook my head slowly. No, Mom. You made us compete. Lena never had to earn anything. Dad rubbed his temples. We just wanted peace. Peace doesn't come from silencing one child to protect another's ego. He looked older suddenly, deflated. What do you want from us, Ava? I considered that. For years, I'd wanted acknowledgement, an apology, equality, something. Now, staring at them, I realized none of it would fix what was already fractured. I want honesty, I said. Say it out loud. You excluded me because you didn't want me to overshadow Lena. Neither spoke. The silence stretched until Mom whispered, maybe that's partly true. It landed like a confession in a courtroom. For a long moment, none of us moved. Then I stood. Thank you for finally saying it. Mom's shoulders slumped. Can we please put this behind us? I looked at her, really looked, at the woman who'd taught me to color inside lines even when those lines were bars. I already have, I said. But that doesn't mean I'm coming back inside them. They exchanged a glance. Dad handed me the envelope. It contained a reimbursement check for the event expenses. Keep it, I said. Consider it my final gift. When they left, the apartment felt lighter, quieter. Not empty, just free. That night, I wrote in my journal, closure isn't something they give. It's something you decide. And I decided I was done seeking permission to exist. Weeks passed. The story faded from gossip, but my business flourished. That event, the one they tried to erase, became a turning point in my portfolio. Every client consultation since, I've started with a quiet promise to myself, I will never let anyone else define my worth again. One evening, I got a postcard in the mail. It was from Lena. No return address, just a single line written in her looping handwriting. Maybe you were right. I didn't know if she meant about the party, or about the roles we'd been forced into our whole lives. Either way, it felt like the first crack in the golden child facade. I placed the card on my desk, not as reconciliation, but as a reminder, healing sometimes starts with small admissions. And as strange as it sounds, I didn't hate her anymore. I pitied the pedestal she'd been placed on. That night, I reopened the anniversary photos, not to rage, but to reclaim them. There was one I hadn't noticed before, Mom mid-laugh, Dad smiling, Lena raising her glass under the lights. Despite everything, the picture was beautiful. Not because of them, but because I'd built it. Maybe that was the quiet revenge all along. Family betrayal cuts deep because it questions your very belonging. But sometimes, being cast out is the only way to see how strong you've become. They banned me from a celebration I created, erased me from their story, and still, my name ended up shining brighter than theirs. I didn't destroy them, I simply stopped protecting their illusion. And in doing so, I built something of my own, success is peace, and boundaries they can no longer cross. That's not vengeance. That's freedom, wrapped in truth. And it's the sweetest closure I've ever known.